Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the time where I miss being at a live event because that music just really pumps you up. I'm Marcia Guerriere, founder of Her Sweet Spot. Her Sweet Spot is a private network for women of color seeking to advance in leadership and entrepreneurship, providing women with connection, community, coaching, and capital for their economic success. My belief is that every woman should have the resources they need to assist their growth in mindset, money, marketing, and media. Whether you're advancing as a leader in the workplace or as an entrepreneur, I want women to connect with the tools necessary to master these four pillars. And I'm excited to be your moderator for this panel discussion today. So, aligned with the conference theme, Women and Work, let's talk about equity. Please introduce yourself, panelists, and share a little personal business story about your journey. I'll start with you, Betty.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, Marcia, and to the whole conference attendees. Exciting to be here again. This is my third Maven's World Conference where I'm participating as a panelist, so excited to be here. So I'm Betty Francisco. I have multiple jobs. I'm the general counsel for a nonprofit called Compass Working Capital. I'm also co-founder of an organization called Amplify Latinx, which is building economic and political power for Latinos in Massachusetts. And we have an initiative focused on supporting Latino-owned businesses. And I'm also a participant in a number of programs focused on helping more women of color, people of color to get into angel investing. So one program that I did a number of years ago is called Pipeline Angels. It's a boot camp to help women to become angel investors. And that's how I actually felt like I launched my journey into angel investing. And since then have invested in a number of women-owned companies, also participate through Portfolio, which is another platform to invest in women-owned businesses. And I'm now co-founder of an initiative called the Investors of Color Network, which is building an ecosystem of investors of color across the capital stack. So both from angels to VCs to private equity investors to come together and better support the ecosystem of founders of color. So we're now tackling it from the investor side, trying to build more capital, but folks that will invest in our businesses. And then just a tidbit story. So when I started angel investing back in 2015, I was also launching my own kids fitness company. And that's what led me to see the dichotomy between the two worlds, right? As an entrepreneur, searching for resources, trying to understand how do you launch a business, who do you go to, where do you get help, right? Who funds businesses like the one I wanted to start. So I wanted to open a set of Ninja Warrior gyms for kids and families. So very capital intensive. And I was looking for a particular type of investor that really was excited about the vision of what these could be and not just want to provide capital. And then also investing at the same time. So I got to see both worlds and the ecosystem of resources available. And what I realized very quickly is that there's a lot of resources in Massachusetts and beyond, but they don't reach our communities. They're not targeted necessarily to women or people of color that are entrepreneurs. And so that set off my journey to try to level that playing field, to try to understand what's out there and to share all the resources that are available and push those that are not integrating diversity to do so. So I'm glad to be here and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you for sharing your journey. I think for so many of us, it starts out of our own personal need, no matter what business you are starting. Paige, welcome, and please share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Marcia, and thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you all today. My name is Paige Hendricks-Buckner. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Founder Gym, and Founder Gym is the leading online training center teaching underrepresented founders how to raise startup capital for their tech companies. My background's actually in education and public policy, so I came out of school and started my career as a fourth grade teacher. As part of a program called Teach for America. So I have a master's degree in education. And then I transitioned into more public sector work. So I work for a nonprofit, the Urban League here in Portland, Oregon, where I currently reside and have for the last, I think, 11 years at this point. And then I got into public policy. So I was a policy advisor and then eventually a policy director for an elected official at the county level. And what was interesting to me was that for a long time, I thought we would just solve the world's problems through the lens of the public sector, right? I think that's what I was taught. But then I actually found out about entrepreneurship through a program called Startup Weekend. So I kind of hacked on some things for 54 hours with strangers. And I was so energized after that event that I thought, wait, maybe there's a different vehicle for changing the world. And maybe it is in the private sector. Maybe I could start a business, which was not something that I had had a personal lived experience with. So I eventually started a company, a subscription box company. We got into an accelerator. I quit my full-time job and jumped into that. It was 2014, and then pivoted and started my second company. I sold that company last year, and I joined Founder Gym in 2018. And the fun thing, we all know this as entrepreneurs, we have like 80 side hustles, right? So I was like doing every single job you could imagine, including like pouring cocktail and soda syrup on the weekend for cash for groceries, when my husband was also running a startup. And one of the things that I realized was just how hard it was to get capital. So I actually worked with a group of women here in Portland, Oregon, to start an organization called the Accelerate Fund. And that was a fund and entrepreneurial organization to help educate women about how to get access to capital that didn't take equity out of their companies, so debt capital. And then served on various boards. I also taught entrepreneurship to high school students and to adults at night and to elementary school students. So I've had a really good time kind of playing with entrepreneurship in all those different ways. And now I sit at the intersection of education and entrepreneurship, which is my happy place. So I'm just honored to be here today among such powerhouse women and really look forward to the conversation.
That's what I was going to say. I love it when, and one of the big things that I teach women is how to marry all the skill sets and passion. So your government, your education, that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing your story. Irene, welcome. Please share your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to be talking about this important topic. So my name is Irene Shahbari. I just want to say, because it's connected to my story, I was born and raised in Nazareth, actually, and I got the Fulbright scholarship in 2009, and that's how I came to the U.S. I did my MBA, and then I went back home and I started a business called Cactus International. And basically, what I did, I'm Palestinian. I have an Israeli citizenship. I have an American citizenship. But one of the main problems was that in the Middle East and North Africa regions, we have the lowest percentage of women participating in the workforce. And I thought, I was a TV host, by the way, before coming to the US. And I came to the US to study for my MBA. I wanted to study entrepreneurship. I wanted to create a TV channel that targets mainly women in the Middle East and North Africa and empowers women through the TV channel. And then while I was doing my market research, I discovered that the Middle East and North Africa has the lowest participation of women in the workforce, even though they're highly educated. Women are more educated than men, actually, in the Middle East and North Africa. So then I was like, I have to solve it, right? I can't empower women just through TV. I need to actually solve the problem of the fact that they don't have jobs. And that's how I started Cactus International. And it's basically was teaching women how to start their own businesses. So it's all about entrepreneurship. And I want to start with my story and then go to define what I'm doing right now. But one of the things that I really cared about, because when I did my market research as well, I found a lot of, not a lot, but there were a couple of not-for-profit organizations that were working with women. But basically the attitude was, start something to help the family, start a business on the side to help the family, and never about start a business that can grow, that can scale, where you need funding so you can have, you can hire more women. And that was my vision for Cactus. It's helping women, teach them how to start scalable businesses where they can hire other women. And that's how we can create an engine that would change. And one of the things that I did, I attended a conference, and one of the guys who was a VC, he said, we have our offices in Nazareth. If anyone wants to have it for an event, talk to me. We're happy to just give you that, right? And then of course I jumped on it and I went to him. We're both Fulbright also alumni, so which that helps. But then I was like, do you remember you said that in a conference? Well, guess what? I want to teach my course at the VC offices. And it was important for me to do that, and for free. I said for free. I want to do it for free. And it was important for me to do that because I wanted women to be learning in a VC office, to know how it feels to start those big businesses, etc. And I did how many courses? I did about 7 courses for free, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning this story is we as women of color and minorities, right, like Palestinians in Israel are 20% of the population, and we face a lot of discriminations there. So one of the things that we have to do, and I'm not saying there's no discrimination, there's a lot of discrimination, but it's to ask for what we want, right? If someone is saying we're going to give you this, jump on it. Even if they don't say anything, say, this is what I need, and you're going to give it to me for free because I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have the money to pay you right now, and I have a vision. And many people have helped me. And I got a lot of resources for free just by saying, I'm doing something important and do you want to be part of it? Yeah. And they had this tendency to say yes. Now, what am I doing now? Well, I'm still running Cactus. I have a company called also Shahbari Training and Consultancy. And basically I do consult men and women and mainly, kind of entrepreneurs and innovative companies and sometimes governments or NGOs. I also teach at Harvard Extension School, Harvard Professional Development Programs. I'm teaching with Stanford Continuing Studies, Professional or the Center for Professional Development, and then Babson Executive Education. So a lot of training and teaching, and a lot of it is about entrepreneurship, but I also teach strategy and marketing as well.
Thank you so much for that. You said ask, and that's the most important thing. If anybody needs to take away anything, is to have that ask prepared and ready. You guys, I can't believe how many gems you've dropped already on us so far, and we have just a little time left. So this month, we're not only celebrating Women's History Month, but this month marks that 1-year anniversary for the onset of the pandemic. I've been calling this past year the year of pain and joy. In addition to the pandemic, we had the social unrest happening globally. It wasn't just a US issue, right? So despite all of that pain that we went through, the joys that I see that came out of it is that it highlighted some of the disparities minority-owned businesses, especially Black women and minority women that are facing having access to funding, especially through that disaster recovery funding, right? Irene, let me ask you, what has been your personal experience in the area for getting access to funding? What have you experienced, or maybe someone in your community as a catalyst for other women due to the COVID regarding funding?
Yeah, I'll just say this. With my business so far, I've been bootstrapping. So really, I didn't ask for outside funding, but I did participate in business competitions, and I won some of those business competitions. And that was, especially in the beginning, that was very important for me to have access to funding and to be able to start my business. As I said too, I got a lot of resources for free because I asked and I insisted, and I had that kind of like, do you want to be part of this, of changing our world? So that helped a lot. I think access to funding has been difficult, and from the beginning. So like, yes, maybe, with the COVID, it showed it more, but in general, women don't get a lot of funding. And even in the US, in the last year, women in general, they got less than 3% of VC funding. And women of color got less than 1%.
Yeah.
So in general, women don't get much funding. And I would say one of the biggest reasons for that is networking. Women are not connected to those who have the power. And so when they need something, it's harder for them to get to that funding. That doesn't mean there aren't ways to get to that funding. And I guess that's the whole conversation today, is how to reach that funding. But one of the things that I did, as I said, when I started Cactus, is connecting these women with VCs. So while they were taking the course, and that is helping in kind of trying to get that funding. Still, I would say discrimination is there, and unfortunately, VCs invest more in men versus women, and invest more in men who are working with men, in women who are working with men. So if you co-found your business with a man, there's higher chances to get VC funding than if it's only a women team business.
Right. It goes back to those biases that we tend to have in the industry. Paige, what have you seen in this last year as a result of the pandemic happening for women of color founders?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think two things come to mind immediately. And I want to echo everything that Odin said. It's like, yes, at 100%. We know that funding is abysmal in the context of the greater body of funding that's out there. And there's a lot of money in the world, right? So I know it can be really infuriating to say, why isn't funding going to these folks? Because women of color are some of the most innovative, creative, bootstrappy people you'll ever meet, right? They know how to stretch a dollar. They know how to take care of their people. They know how to put that money back in their community. So I just wanted to echo that. But the first thing I would say is talking to so many founders, they're rethinking their business model and their customers. So who are they serving and how are they serving them? And the how in particular is, do I need to change my delivery method because we now have a more virtual world, right? We're really different, we're really distant and we can't actually see each other on a regular basis. And I've seen such incredible creativity around that, right? And what's interesting is that people have then been able to test some of the issues about their business that maybe previously they had questions about and like poke holes in their business model and ask themselves, like, what do I really want to work on? What do I really want to build? And who do I really want to build for? And then when it comes back to their customer, just really centering themselves around what their customer needs during this time and then, or their customer needs during this time and then in the future. So I think it's also about like, what do I want my business model to look like, not just in 2021, but maybe in 2025? How is the world going to be different? And so visioning, I think, has been a big part of that. Number two, I'd say, while funding is abysmal for women of color, I think I've seen more funding opportunities than I've ever seen. And I'm thinking back to 2011 when
that joy aspect of this past year. Yeah, it's been phenomenal for us.
It has been, and I'm just thinking, Marcia, like even hearing some of the stuff we talked about in our prep call, some of the resources that are out there, but just, you know, new grants that I've never seen before, funds recognizing publicly the mistakes they've made and then trying to do a better job of reaching into communities where they don't traditionally have networks. Because I think that's the, like Irene was talking about this earlier with women, I think also venture capital and funding agencies don't always have the networks they need to reach back into those communities. Right. And I know that that's an issue in the public sector as well. So I think those are the two trends that I've seen are just entrepreneurs rethinking their business model and who their customer is, how they want to serve them. And second, more funding opportunities than I saw when I was an entrepreneur, baby entrepreneur in 2014. Yeah. And that makes me hopeful.
And Betty, what about you? What have you seen come out of this past year as a result of the pandemic for the communities you serve?
Sure. Yeah. So in addition to what Arena and Paige have already mentioned, the other thing I've seen is tremendous collaboration across different sectors that support entrepreneurs. So when you think of it, it's not just capital, right? So you need capital, you need networks, you need customers. Mm-hmm. And there's been I would say here in Massachusetts, a tremendous push to come together across different organizations and create coalitions that prioritize the needs of entrepreneurs of color. And I'll put a plug in for one that I'm involved with back in April last year when the second round of PPP funding, right? So this is from the government stimulus package. Back then, there was a very strong desire to ensure that the smallest of businesses, those owned by people of color, by Black, Latinos, by women, were able to access that funding. Because in the first round, if you all remember, right, it was targeted more to the larger businesses that had banking relationships, right. and it ran out very quickly. So a group of organizations in Massachusetts, including banks, so Berkshire Bank, Eastern Bank, Leader Bank, a number of others, and community organizations, these are CDCs and CDFIs, came together, over 45 of them, to provide technical assistance to entrepreneurs of color and women so that they could get the help they needed to apply for these funds and get access. And so what was like an intense 2-week effort ended up being, a coalition building initiative that led us then to launch another technical assistance program when the governor announced $668 million in grant dollars for small businesses. We had already created an infrastructure to be able to assist businesses to apply for these funds, right? Because these applications are super complicated. You can't just pick up and, typically do it, especially if you're a smaller businesses that hasn't had good record keeping and doesn't know the ins and outs of how to apply for this kind of funding. And so the efforts I've seen are around bringing players together that had not coordinated or collaborated in this way before, and now standing up initiatives. So we're launching actually the Coalition for an Equitable Economy officially. We've been doing it behind the scenes, supporting these efforts of TA application support for businesses. We've advocated also. So to Paige's point, advocacy plays a huge role, both asking for funding, right? So the reason why so much money was allocated to these small businesses, because these community leaders, as leaders came together and said, this is how much capital is needed. Here's where you should focus it, not on loans, but on grants, right? And support technical assistance providers that can give the help, right? So it's not just money's out there, and people can apply easily. It's actually, they hear about it through engaged community leaders. So that's what I'll say, has changed a lot. And there's now, a report we're issuing on Monday around unleashing the potential for entrepreneurs of color. That's going to focus on this exact issue, right? The networks needed, the capital supports necessary, along with customers. So we talk a lot about capital, but another really important issue that needs to be addressed, right, especially for entrepreneurs of color, is how do they access contracting opportunities, both government, but also from larger corporations. And as you know, there's a history of discrimination, outright discrimination, but just lack of focus on contracting with minority-owned businesses. So that's another change. You're now seeing large corporations making commitments, and government, right, municipalities, to change their procurement practices, to set goals around their spend, right? So that's an important push that we can make. And then the last thing I'll say, what's changed a lot too is I think there is an increasing focus on how does the general community, how do you and I support women and people of color owned businesses. And we're starting to think about how do we leverage our dollars, right? Who are we buying with? Are we going to Costco, or are we going to the local supermarket that's owned by, a person of color? Are we going to are we buying on Amazon, or are we supporting local? So our dollar can actually start to change the trajectory as well.
And women are seeing the power of their dollar collectively. So that's a great point. Absolutely. Yes. So Paige, the Founders Gym was recently celebrated for its record number of graduates that received those huge $1 million in funding through venture capitalists. And I want to say that congratulations to you guys. That's a testament to the work that you're putting out there and helping founders. But for many small businesses, they're not really on that VC track, right? They're really just trying to, as I say, fill their wage gap and their promotion gap and fund their regular life for the most part. But we still need capital. What are some non-equity sharing ways that women can gain access to funding and raise capital and kind of ease up on the bootstrapping?
I love this question so much because this was my lived experience while I was building my business. So the first thing I wanted to say is, Founder Gym is so proud that there are less than 100 women Black women who've raised over $1 million in venture capital, and in the United States, and 9 of our graduates were part of that group. And I think that's also a testament to those Black women and their resilience and their brilliance and their innovation. And so I'm just in awe of all of them and admire them so much. They are incredible. So with that said, I would say that yes, to your point, like most businesses aren't going to get venture capital, period. Like most businesses aren't even built for that. So how can you think about getting your business the capital it needs to grow? First, find the right customer. I think this is the thing that I think about all the time. So if you haven't built out a customer persona that helps you map out who you think your customer is, You can do this before you sell a single thing, by the way. And yes, it's going to be a guess, and that's okay. But having that guess, and you can go out and test it by trying to find those customers, seeing if they'll purchase from you, and then using that data to update your avatar. And how do you update your customer persona or customer avatar? You interview them. So I would call customers all the time. If I had like no money, I would still buy them lunch to make sure that I like really took care of them and treated them and tried to understand what was their experience. What would it take to get them to refer other folks to me? What did they not like? How can I make that better? And just really take good care of them, because your first customers are critical. They're really, really critical, and they'll help set the tone for the rest of your business. And then over time, your customers will change. So just know you have to continue to update that avatar as you get new products and new lines of business going, or you start another business, right? So just always be in touch with your customer. The second I'd say is then thinking about outside capital that you want to bring into your business. You can go out and you can crowdfund. So you don't have to use an equity crowdfunding platform. You could use something like Kickstarter to get your product out into the world. That's great because, again, you're getting customers, getting validation. You can get press out of it. So it checks off several boxes, which are good for business. You can also go and talk to friends and family who can give you money. People talk about a friends and family round. I like to think of it as a gift sometimes in the beginning, right? Because you don't know if they go get that money back. So you need to have a real talk conversation with them and say, listen, this is, I want you to invest in my business, but also this may not come back because it's some of the earliest capital you might get. You can also go, and Irene talked about this, like, pitch competitions are great. Like, go and pitch your business because it's a great way to practice your communication. Again, you can get some press out of it and you can win some money, but you can also win resources, which buys you runway. So maybe you can get legal services or in fact, we got a free office so many times that we forgot to bake that into our, our costs at one point. We figured that out eventually. But it helps you reduce your cost in your business as well. So you can go further. And of course, you can also look at loans and grants as well. So of course, try to get free money if you can. Grants are great. In our local ecosystem in Portland, Oregon, we have a really robust entrepreneurial system. So there are lots of organizations that are connected to state and local entities offering grants. So go and check out what your local ecosystem is doing to find out what's available to you as an entrepreneur from your various identity experiences. There are often multiple that you can tap into. And then I would say loans after that, right? So then you can go talk to, if you have a good relationship with your bank, start a conversation early. What would they need to see? I've also personally used credit cards. I try to advise people to stay away from those as much as possible. But if that's something that you have access to and you feel good about, you can do that. And lines of credit. So if you do have a good relationship with a bank and you've been able to build a good track record, then a line of credit is an option. But I would just say explore all of those options and ask yourself, what do I have to give in return for that capital? Because that's the biggest question you're going to have to think about, because all of them require something. Even customers, right, require something. So ask yourself, do I have the capacity to provide the value that they need out of me, whether it's interest on a loan or servicing that customer, in order to get the value back myself?
That's such a good point, because people don't think about what it takes to offer up. And, they start and they think everything's about marketing and let me just market. But when you're marketing, at the end of that, when you are attracting those customers, are you going to be able to fulfill what you say you can do?
Right. The promise you made. Yeah.
Right. So it's really important that those gems were so spot on. One crowdfunding resource, we'll talk about resources some more, but I Fund Women has been a phenomenal community for specifically catered towards women, and they have partnerships with many corporations providing grants. So thank you for all of that. I want to ask Betty, as the resident angel investor, right? Let's talk about attracting and surrounding yourself with people who give money, and whether it's government and or investors. How do you begin to build relationships with the right people?
Sure. Yeah, so I would say, any relationship building starts with building trust, right? So finding angel investors, once you know where to look, it's not that hard. But I would say start with asking other entrepreneurs, right? So I have found when you talk to other entrepreneurs, they share resources, right? So if you know someone that's gotten funding, ask them, who did they talk to? Who's investing in the industry that they're in? Because one thing you have to know about angels, so angels are individual investors, right? That put their own personal capital at risk and they invest individually, as opposed to say venture, which is usually through a fund, right? And angel investors, because they're individuals, have their own particular interests, right? So some angels, focus on technology, some are interested in food businesses, some are interested in retail. So you want to understand what their focus is. And then there's also angel groups, right? Angel groups are more coordinated. They have maybe, volunteer or paid staff that's focused on, identifying companies. So they're looking for deal flow. And they often put themselves out in some way so that you can find them and they can provide advice, right? So another way to create those relationships is to go to some of these angel groups and show them what you're working on, ask them for input. So for example, Golden Seeds, right? Here in Boston, they hold office hours typically. And you can go to them and ask them questions. There's also Pipeline Angels, right? There's a number of us here now across the country because our program is a cohort program. So many of us are very open, right, to having conversations with entrepreneurs initially, just to get a sense of what's your business like, what are you working on, what's some of the advice you need. In the end, your capital should be not just for the sake of money, but for the sake of growing your business. So think of it as you're building a relationship, almost like a marriage, right? So you want to ensure that that person or group is going to support your vision, is aligned with what you are looking to build.
Right.
And if it's not, right, you're going to end up with disparate expectations, right, that end up creating conflict. I view angel investing as a place where I can provide bigger value, greater value, as through my skill sets or through my connections. It's not just about the money. So if I cannot open a door for that entrepreneur, if I don't think I'm going to add some value, it's not right for me, right? So I would say, there's other groups you can go to. Typically, if you do an accelerator program as well, right? So there's everything from Babson, WinLab, Mass Challenge, Launchpad Venture Group here for ed tech companies. There's a number of I would say accelerator programs you can do, and they will also focus on connecting you to investors. Yeah. Also, one that I really like is called the Capital Network here in Boston. It's specifically focused on getting companies funded, and they have a female fellows program that's actually taking applications right now. So that program is exclusively focused on how do you get from point A to point B to get funding, and they take you through everything from how do you build those relationships to how do you create a pitch deck, right? Because you need to be able to communicate what you're selling and your idea. And then build those relationships with potential investors is critical as part of that program. The other place that you could look is chambers, right? So there a number of, in every community, there's typically a chamber of commerce, but look for the bigger ones, right? The bigger chambers to see if you can build relationships there, because funding is not just, it's not only the equity, because remember, angel venture capital is equity and they will take a piece of your business.
Right.
And I would say, just as a person of color trying to build wealth, you want to avoid that until you have to. You want to retain your equity for yourself and your employees.
And there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure when you do get an investment, even from your family, if you're not giving it, like Paige said, as a gift, right? If that is not known up front, even from your family. So people want to see you working hard. Don't have an off day because everyone's going to be like, well, what's happening with my money, right?
Right.
So it's important that you do look for sources. And everything that you guys have been mentioning are really geared towards those early stage founders, right? We hear words in the funding world and entrepreneurship like traction? How much traction do you have as an early stage founder when you're looking for those government programs and or funding? It's important to know that it's okay that you don't have traction, because some people steer away from even learning more about what funding life cycles look like, the different stages, because they think they don't have that traction. What would you say, Irene, to someone who's thinking of or just at the early stage and they feel like they don't have traction, so they don't attract themselves to the right resources?
Yeah, I think that what's important is to explain what kind of entrepreneurs would reach or would be ready to get loans versus entrepreneurs that are ready for angel investment and VC after. If your business, if let's say you are thinking of starting a local business, a retail store, or whatever, a hair salon, whatever, something that is small. If we're talking about a small scale and you have a collateral, then mostly you're not going to get angel investment, you're not going to get VC money. What you're going to get is approaching banks and asking for a loan, and that's the kind of business that you have. And that kind of business does not grow at a fast rate,
Right.
fortunately, because you need resources, you need money, you need capital, and it grows slowly. So knowing that as an entrepreneur from the beginning is so crucial.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't try to get the wrong funding resources. Now, if you start a business that is scalable, it has the option to scale, and it has the option to scale fast. That's when, actually, before even starting the business, I would say try building your connections. Try talking to investors, angel investors, try to pitch the idea to them, because they will give you also some information about if that's something that they would be willing to fund, something that they see as something that could scale.
Right.
And if you're starting that business, then money is crucial.
Right.
Without money, your business cannot scale, and you need money that is equity based. But as Betty said, don't from the beginning. You see sometimes entrepreneurs that are starting with the idea and they want to pitch it and they want to get funding, capital, an angel investment, and then after that VC. Do not
Right.
do that, because what it means is your investor would take all the business and you'll be left with very minimal in terms, and that means that you don't have a say with your business, right? Like, it means that the investor would actually make decisions
Right.
on your behalf for your
Or
business.
try to sway you towards the decisions you're making.
Yeah, so that goes along with Betty's comment, which is we are not looking only for investment because we just want the money. We're looking for investors to help us grow the business. So they are partners and they have to help us grow the business. So that's why starting that network and knowing exactly what kind of investors would be good for my business is very crucial. Now, I would say this as part of being a part of minority group, going through the whole process. So I really understand what goes on here in the US and what happens with minority groups. Many times, I would say to entrepreneurs, ask yourself how ambitious you are in your business idea, right? Are you starting a small business, and you want to continue with that small business? Or are you really ambitious and you think, you know what, guess what? I mean, and by the way, there's something very encouraging, because the percentage of how many women start businesses, that the group that is growing the fastest
Right.
is women of color.
Women
And
of
that's
color.
really
Yeah.
amazing. Now, the idea is, if you're thinking of starting a business, let's all try to be more ambitious and think of businesses that can scale. But before we're doing, again, in parallel, we have to create that network. Attending business plan competitions, by the way, many of them, they do have investors coming to see your pitch. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I can see where those investors are. Today, this morning, I was like, are there any investors that invest mainly in women of color? And then I just did a Google search, and then I got a list of 50 investors
Yeah.
who, especially now after so much talking about diversity and inclusion, etc., you see a lot of awareness. So I got a list of 50 investors that are mostly want to invest in women of color or women, precisely. So I would try to reach those instead of just acting out, kind of like trying to reach people that I know from the beginning they might not be
They're
keen
interested
on
in.
investing in me, and then I get rejected, and the psychology of entrepreneurship is so important.
Oh my God. You just hit the nail, right? So my next question goes exactly to that point, and you didn't even know that, right? With all the rejection, the no's and the no's, and until you get to that one yes, there's so many women that are watching us right now and listening that are almost ready to give up. They probably came here, didn't know that they were going to get these gems from you guys, and they're like, what can I get? This is my last effort to be inspired and are motivated. So what mindset shift can you guys share that maybe helped you, or advice that you got that you can give to these women that are watching us right now so that they don't give up?
Yeah, I would start with, so I worked as a journalist. I was a TV host and a journalist before getting into teaching business and entrepreneurship. And one of the things that we learn in journalism, you do not accept a no. I want to interview someone in my show. I want to bring someone to a certain show in the TV channel I was working for. There's no. I'm going to keep insisting until I get the yes, until like that person tells me 100 times. Yes. And that somehow had helped me when I started my own business of not, if someone is rejecting my, okay, whatever, right? Like if I have LinkedIn right now, I'm going to send 100 messages, 200, 300, whatever. Someone is going to respond. And if someone likes me, if we talk and we connect, that person is going to connect me to someone else. And by the way, networking is a lot of work. It's a commitment to really having those meetings, to connecting with people, not only just going with, I want what I want, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to connect with you. I have a mission with my business idea. Are we on the same path? Can you help me? And many people are really willing to help. Some people, maybe they are busy. I don't also go with the assumptions of they're doing it because I'm a minority group. Like that's one of the shifts that happened to me, which is I'm not going to accept that. Like they can discriminate against me. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to discriminate against myself. I'm not going to go to a meeting from the beginning knowing, oh, they're going to reject what I'm asking for because I'm a minority group and there's discrimination. I'm not going to play that record in my head. I'm going to go with, I have an awesome idea and they will be lucky to invest in me, or they will be lucky to be part of my story, right? Of my success. So going with that attitude is very important. If you get rejected, you just stand up. There's billions of people in this world. If someone doesn't help you, 10 don't, 100 don't, well, someone will. Someone will. You just
get that yes. Paige, what is that mindset shift that you want to give to the women watching today?
Yeah, so here's the shift. I bucketed it into four things. So one is pause and get clear about your personal and professional goals. By the way, I want to say we've all been there. We've all been there, and I feel you. It's so hard to do this. So this is why pausing and getting clear is so important. And I know there were a couple times in my business where I was like, why am I doing this anymore? Right. And so sitting down, journaling about it, talking to mentors and advisors about it, getting some clarity, because you need to understand how your business feeds into your personal goals as well. Right. So what does that mean for your family? What does that mean for, your long-term career? Do you want to write a book someday? Right. What do you want to write a book about? So that's sometimes that I ask founders to help them center themselves there. Then once you're clear about that, get clear about why you're the one to build your business. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just listening to Betty and Irene, and I'm just like, you all are such bosses, Marsha. And if you listen to them, they have all of these experiences that combine, and they sit at the intersection of those personal and professional experiences that make them the right one to do what they're doing. I mean, just like Betty's resources that she's just been firing off here today, it's very clear that she sits at the intersection of a lot of communities, and she is the right one as an investor, a business owner, a community aggregator to do that work. And the same thing with Irene, when she's like, oh, I was also a journalist. I'm like, not surprised. Love that. So why are you the right one? And think about all the experiences you've ever had that make you the right one. Measure twice, cut once. So pause and do research. Are you clear about the industry you're serving? Are you clear about the kind of business you are building and what stage your business is at? There's a great book that I'm reading right now called Predictable Success. It's by Les McEwen. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And I loved it because it helps you understand the stages of your business. So you have some perspective about like, why am I here right now? And how do I get out of the stage to the next stage? And then finally, know it's a long game. Mm-hmm. Like businesses to get up and off the ground can take 7 to 10 years.
Damon John said it took him 15 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, 1000%. And we all do not get tricked by the game. That's my last one. And so if you're looking at Instagram and you're just like, oh my gosh, this person's raising money, this person's so successful, do not compare yourself to them because you don't know what's going on for them or what's been happening. Yeah. So you're on your own journey. And then my last, is ask for help. So it's you, like everyone has been saying that there's so much help out there for you. You can't know everything. You should know everything. Mm-hmm. Lean on a community, build a community.
Oh my God, so amazing. Comparison is the enemy, truly,
The
truly is.
devil.
Yes. Guys, I can't believe that our time is coming to an end. We could sit here and probably talk about this forever because we're so forward, dynamically diverse, passionate women about helping founders, particularly women and women of color, advance to the next level. So before we go, I'd like to end with a fun fact about your journey. What are some lessons you've learned, and what is that one lasting advice you'd like to leave with the women who are facing those similar lessons? I'll start with Betty.
Oh, well, my one comment when I was working on my kids' fitness business, I kept getting advice from women, and no disrespect to my women mentors, but they were saying keep it small, keep it, really uh, contain, prove it. It was all the stuff that's really rational, right? Of course, as women, like we're more risk adverse oftentimes, and the men would take a look at this and say, "You're thinking too small. You got to go bigger. You're going to raise all this money. You're going to open multiple locations. This is awesome. Like why are you thinking so small?" And I was getting really conflicting advice. And in the end, what I realized is we've got to be ambitious, right? We cannot underestimate ourselves. We have to think like a CEO. We're not just, business owners. We're leaders. We're leaders in our communities. We're leaders in our businesses. And you need to shift that mindset. That is also what's going to keep you going, right? So when we say don't give up, shift your mindset a bit, right? And think as a leader in your community, a leader in your family, a leader of your business. What is it that you can do right now, to transform it? Because all businesses are going through transformation right now. Everybody is pivoting. And so think about not your solution, what you're offering, but what's the problem you were originally trying to solve, right? Think like a problem solver.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that are going to change the world and that are going to, create new industries, transform their organizations. So I would say like it's a shift in your mindset first, and then surround yourself with the people that will support you, those mentors that believe in you, the champions that are going to open the doors, right? Find them. There's so many right now. That we're here on this call. We're here for you, and there are many more that want to support. So I would say reach out and don't be shy about asking for help, to Paige's point, because you don't build
Yeah.
a business alone. You do need that tribe. And that tribe is expanding. It's expanding in spaces that were not there before for us. So even our white allies want to be there. They want to help open those doors. Take advantage of it
Take
now.
advantage. Let them. Thank you so much for that. Irene, share with us a quick lesson learned and that one last advice you would give to the women watching.
Yeah, I would say don't be the reason why your business doesn't grow. And it
Mm.
goes along with the mindset, which is basically, yeah, I want to be ambitious. What Betty said, it's so important. I'm ambitious. I want to reach really, far. I have what it takes. And really, based on my experience working with women for years now, hundreds of women, we have what it takes. We have what it takes to be super successful. So just believe in that and go with that. And I would reiterate the networking part, which is connect yourself to people who are powerful. Do not shy away from it. Do not believe the story that you have in your head, oh, they won't talk to me, whatever. Just reach out and be connected to them, because networking, I was just yesterday in, I live in Silicon Valley, right? And most of the funding happens in Silicon Valley. I was yesterday in Palo Alto, and then we were with friends, and then he mentioned that there's a coffee shop called Copa Cafe, and he said that most of the deals happen in that coffee shop. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn it, I'm working on a new startup. I'm going to go to this coffee shop every single day. And I'm going to be talking
Right.
to those investors,
Surround
right?
yourself.
I need
Yes.
to get connected. So now, like, my business idea needs investment because it's tech-based startup. So I was like, okay, here we go. Knowing that information, I'm kind of, okay, I'm going to go there. And if I see investors, I'm going to go to them and I'm going to start the conversation. I might get rejected, feel comfortable with
With,
rejection. It's part
yeah.
of success.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for dropping all those gems. And lastly, Paige, share with us a quick lesson learned and that lasting advice.
Also, I've just been over here clapping excitedly because I love everything everyone's saying. I know you all can see me and I'm so excited. So first is know your numbers,
Mm.
and that means every day. So every day I work on a report for our team. We know exactly what our numbers are in regards to our customer numbers, in regards to our revenue numbers. You need to know that every day. And so get in the habit of it. If you're uncomfortable with it, stretch yourself here. Every business owner needs to know their numbers, regardless of the stage, right? And don't hand that off. I know that sometimes feel like you need to hand that off. The second is know you're the most expensive aspect of your business. And what I mean by that is your time is so expensive, right? You are the originator of the idea. You have the vision for the company. You're trying to build this. So you're bringing team members on. So at some point you need to pay yourself. So understanding how much it costs for you to live and exist so that eventually you're not starting to resent your business for not paying you and paying everybody else out in that world, right? Start building a pathway now to paying yourself so that it can not just be a thing that you've built that takes care of other people, but a thing that takes care of you. And again,
Yes.
feeds into your personal goals. So know your numbers, and everyone here, you are the most expensive aspect of your business. So value yourself.
Oh my God, so awesome. Thank you so much, Paige and ladies. My lasting advice to you all, or it's just really my slogan, is that when we empower each other, we all rise as women. And so build that community. What everybody has said today was truly, truly a blessing and amazing for us all to hear. So thank you, ladies, again for your participation and sharing all those gems. On behalf of Anna Foster and a Maven's World Conference, I want to thank you all for being our guests. And I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, State Street, Mass General Brigham, Liberty Mutual, PNC Bank, Wellington Management, Cambridge Savings Bank, Eastern Bank, Foxwoods Resort Casino, Greater Chamber of Boston, the Dyna Group Inc., Culture Solutions, and all of our supporting partners. Thank you all for your contributions to helping women get closer to funding. Bye bye for now.
Thank you all, ladies. I am so glad to see and hear you today, and I'm so excited that you are part of my tribe. I am truly blessed. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the 9th Annual Women's Conference by A Maven's World, Women in Work. Let's talk about equity. I hope you enjoyed spending the last 2 days with us and our keynote speakers, Robbie Reed, as well as Michelle Meyer-Ship. Happy Women's History Month. And again, I thank you for being here. I am here going to usher you into our next sessions, which are the career rooms, a few more professional development workshops, as well as our virtual exhibitors. These will run from 1:00 p.m. to 3:00 p.m. and you will find them right in your attendee hub where it says join session. Also, be sure to check out our special tribute to Maven Awardee 2018, Irvine Goldson. You can also check out the job postings on our website. The companies are hiring, so invite your friends to visit as well at mavenwomensconference.com under careers. I want to thank our sponsors, our signature sponsor, which is State Street Bank, as well as Liberty Mutual, Wellington Management, PNC Bank, Eastern Bank, Cambridge Savings Bank, Boston Chamber of Commerce, Culture Solutions, Foxwoods, and the Dinner Group. Without our sponsors, we would not be here today, especially going into our 10th year in 2022. I also want to thank our partners, our supporting partners of the conference. We couldn't be here without your support as well. National Society of Black Engineers, the National Black MBAs of Boston, Ethnic Online, Girls Leap, Schofner and Associates, Global View Communications, TD Bank, thank you. Get Connected, and the Urban League of Massachusetts. So be sure to stay in your attendee hub, sponsored by CVent and hosted by CVent, and you'll go into the career rooms, again, more professional development, as well as the virtual exhibitors from 1:00 p.m. to 3:00 p.m. Today. Again, thank you for joining us for Women's History Month. Thank you, Madam Mayor Kim Janey. We appreciate you kicking off the conference today with your opening remarks. And I would be remiss not to thank my amazing team at A Maven's World, Ashley Green, Marie Huff, Nicole Maxey, and all of those who supported bringing this conference together for our 9th year. So for now, I'm signing off. You can find us on social media and on all platforms at A Maven's World. And again, thank you for being here, and be well and take care.